Chapter 5 The Good Old Days. Jeremiah left the garden and followed the road that led up from the bridge, away from the river, over the hills and a great way off. By 3 o'clock he had passed the brickworks and the old botanical gardens and had come to a place where giant beanstalks grew up into the sky. By 4 o'clock he had climbed the first of the hills and could see the ghost town, half hidden in the mist as usual, spread out below him. By 5 o'clock he was approaching a grove of pepper trees with clouds of parakeets and finches flying above it. And by 5:30 he was resting once more and eating peaches beneath a high tower around which there was a little moat. Jeremiah had some hope of meeting a princess at this time, or an ogre even, and questioning them about his auntie's tarts. But the tower was deserted. When he had finished his peaches, Jeremiah took a tobacco tin lid which he had found in the grass and went to sail it on the moat. If the lid sank, that would be bad luck, he said to himself, and he would never see his auntie's tarts again. At that moment, a motorcyclist came riding up over the brow of the hill. He stopped, dismounted, and removed his crash helmet. Jeremiah saw it was the wolf. "I forgot to ask you, boy," said the wolf. "Is there a reward?" "For finding the tarts?" Jeremiah said. "Yes," said the wolf. "No," Jeremiah said. "Oh," said the wolf. He stood for a moment looking down into the moat and also sideways at Jeremiah. Then he whistled a chorus of "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf?" put his helmet back on and returned to his motorcycle. "Well, I'm going. I have to see this little girl about her grandma." The wolf smiled craftily at Jeremiah. "You know who it is." Jeremiah lay back in the warm grass and yawned. The sounds of the departing motorcycle went echoing down into the next valley and faded gradually away. Jeremiah closed his eyes and yawned again, turned over on his side, daydreamed for a time about various things, and finally fell asleep. When Jeremiah awoke, the moon and stars were shining overhead, fireflies were glowing in the darkness of the surrounding trees, and the ground was shaking. "Goodness," Jeremiah said, "it's an earthquake!" He buttoned up his coat and pulled his flat hat more firmly into place. Then suddenly the moon blotted out an enormous head and neck, and a voice said, "It is no earthquake, it is I!" The dinosaur stretched himself out full length along the side of the hill. In this position he no longer hid the moon, and Jeremiah could see that he was carrying a passenger. It was a little girl with a pale face, bright eyes, and long golden hair. "Jeremiah," said the dinosaur, "it is late, long past the time when a person of your age and size should be in bed, in my opinion." "But I'm looking for the no-good robber who's taken my auntie's tarts," Jeremiah said. "Forget the tarts, Jeremiah," said the dinosaur. "They are forever gone. Believe me." "What about the robber?" Jeremiah said. The dinosaur shook his head sadly. "There was no robber, Jeremiah," he said. "Only a poor and hungry little person." "I was starving," shouted the girl, "separated from the affections of her loving parents." "I fell off the boat," shouted the girl. "I got left behind. I was soaked." "Lost in the dark woods, a stranger in a strange land." "I didn't know where I was," shouted the girl. "Wait a minute," Jeremiah said. "Did she take the tarts?" "She took them, Jeremiah," said the dinosaur. "Her name is Goldilocks." Then Goldilocks shouted down to Jeremiah about how the dinosaur had rescued her from the 3 bears. "He just picked me up like a little flower for his buttonhole," she said. "And so fast, I bet them bears never even knew I was gone." And the dinosaur said, "Oh, it was nothing. Any dinosaur would have done the same, in my opinion." "Wait a minute," Jeremiah said. "Did she take the porridge as well?" "She took it, Jeremiah," said the dinosaur, "in a moment of weakness." "I had to break the door down," Goldilocks said, "and having just finished off the tarts." Then the dinosaur said, But come, Jeremiah, all that is history now. Climb aboard and we will deliver Goldilocks once more into her father's boat, and after which I will return you to your grandma." And so Jeremiah rode home with Goldilocks on the dinosaur and thought for the last time about the mystery of his auntie's tarts. It was solved now, of course, and yet there was just one thing that was bothering him. When they came to the river and could see the lights of the steamboat shining below, Jeremiah tapped Goldilocks on the shoulder and said, "What did you do with the plate?" "I kept it," Goldilocks said. "Only then I had to throw it at those bears. They were going to eat me." "No, they only eat porridge," Jeremiah said. "Well, I was more or less full of porridge at the time," Goldilocks said. Then she said, "Oh look, there's my mum and dad." Now the dinosaur stepped out into the river and lowered his head so it lay alongside the steamboat. Goldilocks climbed up over his ears, down between his eyes, along his nose, until she was able to jump onto the deck and into her mother's arms. After this, Captain Dawkins raised his megaphone and thanked Jeremiah and the dinosaur on behalf of himself and his wife for finding their beloved Goldilocks. Mrs. Dawkins also tried to say a few words but was unable to do so, being so overcome by the happiness of the occasion. "Oh, I didn't do anything," Jeremiah said. "It was the dinosaur." Not at all," the dinosaur said. "And besides, any dinosaur would have done the same, in my opinion." "I didn't know there were other dinosaurs," Captain said. "True," said the dinosaur, "very true." But then he added quietly, so that only Jeremiah heard, "Yet I do believe there were hundreds of us, thousands of us even, in the good old days."